Next, what we have to work on is cancel order. Before we get started with that, let's take a look at the transaction lifecycle in Braintree. So in the documentation of Braintree, whenever you make a transaction, it follows a specific life cycle. Initially, authorization is made on the credit card for the amount that is requested. This authorization is the charge that you usually see as pending on your credit card. Then what will happen is later on they will be submitting that transaction for settlement. What happens during settlement is at that point the money from the customer's credit card is taken and the money is transferred into your bank account or the company's bank account. And once the status is settled, at that point you have the money from your customers. You do not have the money from customers during authorized or submitted for settlement status. So if you think about it, what is the time when you are actually refunding money from your or company's bank back to the customer? That will happen only if the funds are settled. If it is in the other status, we do not have to refund it because it has not come to our account yet. All that we have to do is cancel the authorization or void the settlement process. For that, Braintree has different methods. If we go back, let's work on that. So first thing, once we retrieve the order header, is we have to use Braintree. So let's get the gateway to make the transactions. So this will be inside the Braintree repository. We have the get gateway. Then we have a transaction object in Braintree and we can retrieve all of the transaction details for any transaction ID. So on gateway we have transaction.find and this will find all the details about a specific transaction. We have the transaction ID for each order inside order header.transaction ID. Based on that transaction object, we have to check the status. So if transaction.status is equal to, they have predefined transaction statuses. Inside transaction status dot, you can see all the status that we have. Now if the transaction is authorized, or we will copy this and paste it one more time, or if it is in the process of submitted for settlement, in that case we do not have the money yet. We will be submitting it for settlement, but it is not in settling status or it has been settled. So in that case we do not have to provide a refund. Else, this means that the status that we have is either settling or settled. In both of these scenarios, we will get the money. So we will have to refund back the money if we cancel. So for that, we have to provide a refund. Now, how do you provide a refund or how do you cancel a transaction? So we'll get a result of transaction. Let's call this result void. We need to cancel the transaction in this case. So we'll call gateway. On there we have transaction. And just like we had find, we also have a void method there in which it expects an ID. So we'll pass order header.transaction ID and that will actually cancel or void the transaction. In the else part, we need to provide a refund. So I can copy this and we'll paste it here. Rather than void now, what we want to do is provide a refund. So we have that method and we'll change the variable name here to result refund. You can examine the result here and log in more details if you want, but I think this will be sufficient for our logic purpose. Once we provide them with refund or we cancel the transaction, we need to change the order header.order status to be refunded. After you make the status change, we will have the order header repo will save the changes and redirect back to the index action. So this was quite in-depth on Braintree transactions, but it was good insight. So with that, we have completed start processing, ship order, and cancel order. These are main three buttons that we have in order management. We also have update order, but we'll take care of that later on. In the next video, let's add all these three processing inside our view and see them in action.